Hi there, Sherry Schreiber of GettingBetter.com with another Naked Truth. And I think you're going to like this one today. This is about the compromises we make, whether we choose to be single or coupled. Now, humans go through life with this ideation that somehow the grass is greener on the other side of the fence. It's not. We just think it is. And this is true when it comes to being coupled or choosing to be single. Coupled people oftentimes wish that they were single. They'd love the freedom and the ease of movement and just doing their own thing that being single affords them. Whereas single people oftentimes want to be coupled. They feel great shame in not having someone in their life. They grew up perhaps with the ideation that something was wrong with them if they weren't coupled. So this brings up core shame. And the core shame, of course, is connected to experiences way earlier in life where unfortunately we were interacted with in ways by our parental units that caused us to question our lovability and our worth. So anything that bumps up against that shame zone in us, I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable, which I've touched on in a lot of my writings on my website, GettingBetter.com, and also I talked about briefly in some of these videos, anything that bumps up against that shame zone, why aren't I like everybody else, activates the kind of motivation that's driven by what's wrong with me and trying to fill that hole in the soul. So I'm here today to talk about the fact that there is no such thing as a panacea. The grass is never greener on the other side of the fence. The truth is that when you're coupled, you sign on for a certain set of compromises, sacrifices, if you will. And if you're a single entity, you've chosen not to be in a relationship, or life has orchestrated itself around you not being in a relationship for that segment of time in your life, you have a different set of compromises that you must adjust and adapt to. So there is no real panacea, because if you're coupled, you're making a certain set of compromises. And if you're single, you're making a certain set of compromises. And the trick in life, I think, the real philosophical trick in life is, as you go through each year of your existence, as you maybe go through each decade of your existence, you have to check in now and then and say, which set of compromises am I the most adaptable to? Which set of compromises is the easiest for me and simplest for me to make with regard to being coupled or single? I, in particular, have, I think, for many years found it easier to make the compromises I make as a single entity. I don't actually feel like I'm making any compromises. And that suits me just fine. But I have been coupled, and I've loved being coupled. But I don't necessarily like the idea of cohabitation. I'm very selfish of my time for me. My Sherry time, I like to call it. And I don't want anybody messing with that. I don't have to consider somebody else's needs or feelings or wants or desires. I love living alone. For me, that's a luxury. It isn't that I can't be coupled, but I don't want somebody underfoot all the time. And while my consulting practice was very, very busy, and I was available basically 17/7 for my clients, and that just didn't include sleeping time, because when I went to sleep, my ringers were turned off on my phones, in order to take really good care of me and allow myself to recharge my batteries. I didn't want to have to consider anybody else's wants or needs at the end of my workday. The idea of that was just abhorrent to me. Now, I'm sure there would have been some perks for me had I been in a relationship for some of those years, and I was early on. But the truth is that I was utterly exhausted at the end of my workday. My weekends in the past two and a half years have really had me being a couch tomato on the weekends. I mean, just really laying out, trying to recharge the batteries, watching a lot of movies and stored programs, weekly programs on my DVR. I didn't have the energy for anything else. And I finally came out of the ether, late this year, August, September, October, and realized I don't want my life to feel like this. So I chose to retire from the work. The kind of work that I did was just too emotionally and spiritually demanding for me to want to keep doing it past 24 years. So anyway, I digress. Back to panaceas and thinking that the other guy has it much better than you do. Not true. It's just a different set of compromises they might at that time in their life be more adaptable to. When I'm in my 70s or 80s, God willing I live long enough, I might be more adaptable to the compromises I might have to make as a coupled entity. But I guess I'm going to cross that bridge when I get to it. Humans are option-oriented. We just are. It's a natural built-in thing. Would you want to go to an ice cream store that offered only one flavor? Let's say all they had available was vanilla. No. You want peppermint, you want mint chip, you want chocolate, you want Rocky Road, you want maybe daiquiri ice, that 31 Flavors used to offer, maybe still does. You want a plethora of choices. Humans are option-oriented. So when you say I do, and you sign on the bottom line, and you say I love you and I wed you until death do us part, you've given up your options. For years, I've been asking myself philosophical questions about life and love. For years. I mean, I knew I didn't have all the answers, but I wanted to keep trying to ask myself important and intelligent and probing questions about some of the anomalies I noticed in life that just didn't make sense to me. One of those anomalies was that I saw people getting married after maybe years, maybe decades of living together, being coupled, living together. And they finally decide to tie the knot. Brad and Angelina did this. And my prediction came true about them, that they would be filing for divorce within about 18 months of getting married. We can no longer wake up every morning and make the conscious choice and decision to lie there next to our partner. When we sign on the dotted line and that marriage certificate is in place, and we vow before a preacher or a rabbi or a justice of the peace that you will stay together, I'm going to stay with you till death do us part. Well, fuck! Back when marriage vows were first formulated, people didn't live past 30, 35 years of age. We didn't have antibiotics back then. People worked the farmland. If they got a rusty nail in their foot, they died of tetanus. People didn't live past 35 years of age when marriage vows were first constructed. But now, if you say I do, and I will be with you till death do us part, that means a good 50, 60 years with somebody, on average. Well, who the hell can do that? Given that human beings continue, with any luck, to grow and evolve, and we don't always grow and evolve alongside each other and at the same rate of speed. Option-oriented. So when you sign on that dotted line, you marry that person. All of a sudden, it's human nature now, all of a sudden, your back door slams shut. You don't have the options you had before you married, at least not on a subliminal or subconscious level. You're stuck. Now, if you want to part, it's a whole legal division of property and custody battles and all kinds of horse shit that you have to go through. And some people go, it's not worth it. This prize of freedom isn't going to be worth the price I pay. So they continue to live lives of quiet desperation. Former friend and colleague who's always referred to herself as a relationship expert. She's as borderline disordered as they come. And has not been able to sustain healthy, nourishing, happy, copacetic, harmonious relationships, ironically enough. She said to me once many, many years ago, I think I was in my 40s and so was she. And she said to me over dinner one night, she said, "You have no respect for marriage." Just made that statement to me in context of something I said or a dialogue we were having or whatever the hell it was. And I said, on the contrary, I have too much respect for marriage to treat it lightly. Because if I make a vow to somebody that I'm going to love them and cherish them through sickness and through health and be with them and support them on a long-term basis, I'm going to take that decision pretty darn seriously, not frivolously. She, by the way, has been married 4 or 5 times. So how much does she respect the institution of marriage? I had tremendous respect for the institution of marriage. I wasn't going to treat it lightly. I wasn't just going to dive in head first because I liked screwing somebody. This was a lifetime commitment, in my view. It's kind of like adopting a pet. You're making a lifetime commitment to that animal. And you're going to be there until it dies. You're not just going to give it away because it's inconvenient for you to keep it around. So I have a tremendous amount of respect for marriage. Tremendous amount. Far more so than my former friend, the relationship expert, who's been married 4 or 5 times to different people over the years. Why do people stay together for years, sometimes decades, and then when they finally decide to tie the knot, for whatever reasons, maybe they're looking for a tax break as a couple, maybe they want to buy a house together and they think this is a better way to go about that. There could be myriad reasons. Maybe they want to adopt a child together and they think that this is a better way to go about that than trying to adopt as 2 single parents. I mean, could be any reason. they decide to finally marry. What I always wondered changes for them, that they're filing for divorce within 18 months, a year and a half after they marry, having been together for so many friggin' years. Human nature. Humans are option-oriented. When our options are taken away or we surrender them, we act out. It just made sense to me. I mean, this is what I came up with as an answer to this question. That back door slammed shut. I no longer can make the choice to wake up with you next to me every morning and go to sleep with you next to me every night. Now it's mandated that I be here. Otherwise, why would the divorce rate be so high? It flies in the face. I think, this is just my view, my opinion, my stance on this. It flies in the face of human nature and the fact that we as humans are option-oriented. We like our choices. We like our different flavors of ice cream at the ice cream store. I want to be able to get up in the morning and make the decision. Do I want to have cereal or do I want to have scrambled eggs? I like my options. I want to keep my options open. I have never married. It didn't seem necessary. When I was a very young woman, say 19 years old, I knew I was going to be a lousy mother. I knew I was going to fail miserably at that job. So understanding and knowing in every cell of my body that I wasn't equipped to be a good mother, a loving, consistently nurturing mother, because I was too selfish and self-centered. And, I think some part of me knew that it was going to be a full-time job just taking care of me for years, financially and most likely emotionally, and it was. I just knew I didn't want to have kids. Never wanted to be a mother. So the ideation of marriage, getting married, really held no motivation for me. If I didn't want to be a mother and I didn't want to bring children into the world, why would I need a permanent partner? I also believed in taking care of myself from an early age. I never depended on somebody else to take care of me. This is not to say I didn't benefit from the kindness of strangers along the way here and there. I always wanted to be independent. Never wanted to be one of these women who goes to their husband and says, "Honey, can I have some money for pantyhose and lipstick?" That wasn't ever going to be me. But I digress. This video is really to help you understand not everyone needs to be coupled to be happy, to be content, to have a gratifying life. Not everyone needs that. If you've worked hard to build and maintain and enhance your relationship bond with you, and that relationship is friendly and nourishing and healthy and supporting rather than diminishing and critical and abusive, and I speak to this in some of my other videos, like Quit Being Hard on Yourself, that one, then you can have a perfectly wonderful time with yourself. That's not to say you have to be a hermit. You can enjoy other people's company. You just don't have to be welded to those people. Read an interesting article online recently about the real truth about marriage, and most of us don't look at this. And what it said is you're not going to always feel in love with the other person that you pledged your truth to. You're just not. You can't maintain that kind of intensity of connection every minute of every day. Some days you're going to love that person and admire and respect them, and other days you're going to want to suffocate them in their sleep with a pillow over their head. That's just the way it's going to be. And a lot of you folks out there think, okay, I've fallen in love with this person. I'm going to always feel this way. Oh, I know I'm going to always feel this way. Day to day, 24/7, I'm going to always feel this way. And one day you wake up and you go, oh, who do I have to sleep with to get off this movie? And you really are not happy with that person lying beside you. It's temporary. Don't worry about it. You'll find your way back to making a bridge with that person at some point, especially if you're willing to communicate about what you're feeling and why you think that is. But you're not going to be in love all the time. That is humanly impossible to access those feelings for another person or even an animal you have in your house constantly. It's impossible. If you can shoot for most of the time, 75% of the time, being happy to be there and admiring and respecting that person and believing you made the right choice for a life partner, you're doing just great. That's all for now. I'm going to follow this up with a cute little tool that I think you're going to really like, that's going to help you navigate relationships better, especially in the early phases, and not get yourself into real trouble. God bless you. I'm sending you lots of love. And goodbye for now.